And today, first of all, thanks a lot for joining this session. And today we'll be showing you how to configure the Acronis account as a service provider, and how to onboard your end customer and perform the backup. All right, so let's start with this. So the first thing you need to do is I'll just close a couple of windows from here as I was doing some test. So the first thing you need to do is you need to log in to the cast.acronis.com. When you log in, you need to give the credential here. And when you log in, I hope you're able to hear me. Can you please respond and let me know? Can you guys hear me? All right, great. All right, so being a service provider, this would be your console. So if you get on board, this is the console you will see where you can add your end customers. All right, so I'll explain about the entire console and what all you can do in this console. So the first thing is that on the left hand corner you will see group and reports. So you can create groups here, and then below that you have reports. You can configure the monthly report and by clicking on this radio button, as well as you can configure a custom report. A custom report can be a weekly report, daily report, or depending on your requirement, you can generate a report and which will give you the detail about the usage, the prices, and the requirement and the environment about the customer. You can also send the report to the email address if you want, and to the end customer as well if he requests each about. Here in the middle pane where you can see the groups, you can add groups by clicking on the add group. The group means the end customer here. So if you have an end customer, you can add end customer 2. Give his identifier number, the person, the contact person, you can give any name here. Maybe user 22, let's see. Now here you need to define what kind of type of this customer is. Now, as a partner, you can enroll a partner as well, another service provider who wants to get on board with you and wants to also for your ease, you can define what kind of account or group this would be. Is it a partner or is it the end customer? So you can select the end customer here. Then you can go to mode and then trial mode. Now, you can give it to the trial mode, or you can define the pricing as well. Here, if it's a production, then you can define the pricing. Otherwise, you can give the trial as well. So we are using trial here. Language, depending on the customer. If you think that the customer requires a different language, you can always go ahead and change the language, and it will change the language for the customer web interface. All right. Here you can define the storage. We have multiple storage gateways. You can define the storage gateways here. All right. Now here, pricing parameter. If you want, you can, for your ease, you can define the pricing parameter. What kind of, how you are charging the end customer per gigabyte. Or here you can define, for your ease, you can define the, what are the charges. Maybe $10 per gigabyte, or maybe $1 per gigabyte. Depending on your account, you can always set the pricing for your ease to calculate the pricing. Are you able to see the console? Is it good now? Can you see the console? Great. All right. I'll start once again. I'll start once again. All right. So I'll cancel this as well for you. So, as a service provider, you will see this would be your console as a service provider. Okay. Under this, there are a lot of configuration you need to do before you create an account for an end customer or to another service provider who wants to get on board with you. So, the first thing you need to do is as a cloud. On the left hand side, you can see the groups here. You will see all the groups which are under you. It can be end customer or it can be MSP service provider. Then you have the report tab where you can generate the report. There are two ways to generate the report. One is scheduled report, which will run every month, and then you can generate the custom report whenever you want. Now, here at the bottom, it will give you the information about the server version, the console version, and the user guide if you want for your help. So it will download the user guide and it will have the detailed information about how to use the console in case if you want to use. Now here under groups tab, you will see all your groups, your end customer details and everything. And when you click on that, you will get the detail about their end customer. So here, for an example, you will see the number of workstation they are using, number of protected physical server, number of virtual machines, number of phone devices they are using, Office 365 they are using, and occupied storage size. So you can see all these by just clicking on the end customer account. Under the account, you have the user detail. You can add multiple accounts. So if end customer has 2 or 3 admin who are managing the entire resources or environment, you can add multiple account by clicking here, add account, and you can provide the login credential, and you can define whether you want to give him administration privilege or not. Update agent auto update is the feature which will update the agent on all the machine where the Acronis agent is installed. It will update all the agents there. Below, you can define the quotas. So right now it's unlimited, but if a customer says I have only 10 machines, so this is once again a key selling point or to a point where you can earn money. A customer says I have in my environment I have maybe 10 workstation or 5 servers or maybe 1 or 2 virtual machines. You can always click here and define how much you want them to use. So you can give them, for an example, if it says I have let's say 10 workstation, you can always, I'm sorry, if the customer says I have 10 virtual machine or workstation, you can always click here. I'm sorry, the mouse is not working. I'm sorry for that. You can always define 10. On top of that, you can give a leverage of 2. So he will be able to install the agent on 12 and not more than that. If he wants to configure the backup further than 12 workstation, he will have to contact you. So you can increase the size here and give him the option to install the agent on other machines as well. Same with the physical server. So this is how you can earn money. How? If a customer says I have 5 servers and later on he adds 3 more, you can always charge for the new 3 ones. You can ask them that you need to pay for the 3 additional servers which you have added, because as per the initial conversation, you had mentioned that only 5 server will be there. Same thing you can do for the mailboxes, storage quota, backup location. Now here is the option where you can define where you want where you want to allow the end customer to perform the backup. So it could be if you want him to perform local backup and cloud, you can select this option. By default, it's local and cloud, or you can always go ahead and select cloud backup only. So the customer will only be able to perform the cloud backup. In case if he comes again and asks you to that he wants to perform local backup, but again you can charge money for that. Here below that you can define the notification, how you want the notification to be. If you want to disable, you can always disable that. You can always set to errors only, then you can set to warnings and error, and then if you want everything you can just go ahead and set. So you will get all the notification about the backups. Business notification will always be there. You can add by clicking add account. You can add the account. So if you scroll up and on the top, there's an email address you need to mention, which is must. When you add the email address, what it does, it sends the email to the end customer whose account you're adding, and he can activate his account by clicking on the link and set the password. So this is how you add the account. Guys, if you have questions in between, please let me know. Okay. Then this is for the existing customer. If you want to add another customer, by clicking on add group, you can add another group. Okay. So you can just type I'll add another customer and customer 2. Okay. And customer 2. Identifier, the person name you can give, maybe user 222. Unit. Okay, this is, let me describe. You can define the storage here, which storage you want to configure for the end customer, and he will have the specific storage for that. Then you can give the full username, first name, last name, email address, all of the account, and the new group will be created. While creating the account, you have the option to select whether it's a partner or customer, which I was explaining before, and then you can define the storage as well. Now, here you can disable and delete the account if you want. For an example, if you want to disable this account, a customer is not ready to pay you, or he wants to use the solution, but the payment is not up to the mark, or maybe delay, or does not working as expected, then you can always go ahead and disable his account. Once you disable this account, all the logins which are under that account will not be able to log into the console and perform the backup. That is the best thing, which gives you the entire leverage over the customer, and you have the full control over the customer. So the customer cannot bypass you. Then again, if a customer says that he wants to move ahead and connect to another customer, or he does not want to use the solution, he can always go ahead and delete this account after providing his all the data. He can go ahead and delete this account. You can always disable and enable account Depending on the requirement, you can reset the password for the account. Then let's go back to the service provider console. So this is the service provider console here, and you can go ahead and select administrator. Who is the administrator right now? I am the administrator, but you can add another account. So this is for the service provider. So being a service provider, you can add multiple account here who will be have the access and can manage the accounts for you for their end customers. Then you have properties. You can always change the name and give it if you want to change the language, you can change that. Storage will give you option to add storage. So you can add Azure Storage, which I have already added. Then you can add Amazon Storage. Then you can have Acronis Cloud Storage as well as, and you can perform the local backup as well. So you can perform local backup, Amazon, Azure. You can always white label the entire solution by changing this with your account name and your company name, email address. You can set the home URL, support URL. If you're managing, if you're providing the entire support for the end customers as an annual maintenance contract, you can white label everything with your details here. Security will give you the login control, so you can always enable this and set the IP address of the machine, which can only be able to allow you to log into the console. If the IP address mismatches, you cannot log into the console. So that gives you the login control. Here we have added the end customer. Now let's how to perform the backup. Now I'll show you how the end customer login will look like. Okay, so I'll exit from this one and log in as an end customer. That's it, right? Yeah. Alright, so I'll just confirm the name once again. New customer.
Hi, how are you?
Let me just confirm the account name. I created a couple of and then deleted. Alright, so this is how the end customer console will look like once he get on board with you, and you will provide his own console. First time when he log in, he will see a console look like this. It's just coming up. It's the same console like Acronis Backup 12. Same console, and now the customer wants to add. So he will not be able to see. If you look at the one thing you will notice that the end customer cannot see the information about what kind of resources or partner you're using or end customer you have. Nothing. He will see only his console, and he can add his machines and perform the backup. But if you want to add a machine, he can add the machines here to perform the backup. We'll just run the setup here and to register this machine, so I can help you to configure the backup. All right, so we'll run the setup. All right, by the time the installation is running, I'll explain you how to add the storage gateway. So it's a pretty simple setup. Now, when you want to back up, so first of all, what is storage gateway? Storage gateway is Acronis requires storage gateway when we are performing the backup to a different destination rather than Acronis Cloud. So if you're backing up to Azure or Amazon Cloud, you need to configure, or local backup as well, you need to configure a storage gateway. Why do we need to do that? First, storage gateway helps you to monitor what kind of data you're backing up. First, second, it will store the data in a properly way, so the end customer one data will be stored in customer one block, and the end customer two data will store in end customer two block. Third, it gives security. So until when you create an account on the cloud, you get a secured certification which added into your account, your data which is stored on the cloud, as well as your login account. So if you do not have the login account, or maybe you're trying to access the data of an end customer, being a service provider, you want to restore some data for an end customer one. If you do not have his credential, you cannot recover the data, though you have created the account under your name. Why? Because that storage gateway keeps a track of all the resources, and it provides security, so no one else can access the data without his permission. So in order to register the storage gateway, what you need to do is, so all right, let's discuss about the architecture first. So this is the architecture. So this is the architecture. You have Acronis Backup Agent installed, and then you have Acronis Backup Cloud, the console, and the Acronis Storage Gateway will help you to store the data on Azure, Amazon, OpenStack, and to the NFS folder, to the local storage if you want to perform the backup. One storage gateway is required for one destination. So if you have 5 different destinations, 5 storage gateways required. The minimum requirement is 1 physical or virtual machine, 2 to 4 CPU, 4 GB RAM, 100 GB of data, only for the log. So storage gateway does not store any data, it just passes the data from the remote machine to the storage destination and keeps on monitoring about the data and provide the security of the data. It can be RHEL 7 or CentOS 7. Guide, you need to run the RPM and perform the installation. Once you install the RPM, you need to configure, you need to run the Azure one if you're performing the backup to Azure, and it will install the binaries on the storage gateway machine, and then you can configure the storage gateway XML file and points to the destination, which is actually the storage location. Any doubt or any question so far? Okay. So you need to provide the path here, the home path, which will be the exact path of the Azure storage. Then you need to provide your account and the access key to access this data in order to perform the backup. Let's see if the installation is completed. Okay, it's still running. So once the storage gateway is configured, you add that storage gateway into your console as a service provider console in the destination where we see the storage tab. When I log in again to the MSP console, I'll show you that. This gateway can be downloaded from the console itself. Let me try to see if I can log into the console once again. It's only allowing me to log into this console. Any questions so far? By the time the installation is running? All right. So in the same console, let's talk about more thing. A customer can add a Windows server, a Mac server, workstation. Then he can add a Windows server, Linux server, mobile devices. He can add, and then if you have a virtualization, you can set up the VMware host, Hyper-V, and Virtuo, which is a parallel company. Then you can backup application server, Exchange server, Active Directory, Office 365. And if you have multiple deployment, you can always download the X32 and X64 downloads from here. Then you have devices where you see all devices. Here you can see the backup, destination, and the storage. Here you can see the activities. Once you have all the backup jobs in place, you can see all your backups and everything. Under this, you will see all the alerts about the backups, warnings, and everything. Setting will give you the information about the agent version and whether the agent is installed or not. So it's almost done now. Right now the version is 12.0.3539. It's almost done. All right. So now you can see that the agent has been added here. All right. If I go here or just refresh it, you will see the machine. Okay, apply. You need to click on apply and entire machine to cloud. You can run the backup from the agent as well, or you can add the machine. Once the machine is added, you can see that as well.
I'm checking something because the partners list. I need to check how many are missing because
Let me just sometimes it takes time to register the machine. So I'll just all right. Let me just say, all right. So we are able to troubleshoot the issue as well. Okay, yeah. As I mentioned, that it takes some time, a little time to connect to the cloud. Now you can see the machine here. Okay, when you want to configure the backup, you can always enable backup. Now this is for the end customer. This is how the end customer. Let me start this again. You need to click on enable backup. It will give you option to perform the backup. What customer can do, he can backup the entire machine, disk and volumes, files and folder, and system state. If you select disk and volumes, he can specify the disk, which disk he wants to backup from that, which means is a drive, which disk he wants to backup, and he can select that and perform the backup like this. Okay. If not, if a customer wants to backup files and folders, he can select files and folders, specific files and folder, and perform the backup. Same way, you can browse it and select whether he wants to browse C drive or D drive, if you want to select a single folder items. You can directly backup system state as well. So we'll select here files and folder because we'll run a small backup to show you in a demo.
how when do you want all the partners to do it?
Let's take the drivers folder. Done. Okay. Where you want to backup to the cloud storage. Now customer, as an end customer, he can see where you want to backup cloud storage, local folder or network folder. That's it. He will not be able to see where the data is going. Is it because you have the option to store the data to Acronis Cloud, Azure Cloud, Amazon Cloud, or if you have your own data center, you can store it there. We know that we are backing up the data, we are backing up this data to Azure Storage, but the end customer does not know. Okay, so you can he will only see the data is going to the cloud. So this gives you again a leverage that you can store the data and customer data wherever you want, where you think that this is the cheapest solution for you from your end, and then you can earn money from customer. So you can always select this, and the customer will never know until he asks you or you give him the leverage. Then you can go to local folder or network folder to perform the backup. We'll select cloud storage for Azure Cloud, schedule backup. He can always schedule the backup when he wants to run the backup. Okay, monthly, weekly, daily, and hourly. So you can always set this. So if you go to monthly,
She's from GBM.
You can define when you want to run the backup job. Now on the cloud is always incremental backup job. So first backup will take time. Next time, the next backup when you run it is always incremental, and you keep on adding the data to the full one. Daily, we'll set it as a default. Here, how long you want to keep the data. So that is retention. Now that is completely dependent on the end customer. So you need to ask a lot of questions to the end customer, how long they want to retain the data, and how many copies they want to keep it on the cloud. Okay, so on the cloud, how it works is that every depending on this setting, which is here, I'll show you. Weekly backup. When you want to run a weekly backup, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this option gives you, what it does, it stores that information in the database, okay, and depending on that, it keeps on tracking on that. So if, for an example, if you selected a weekend, maybe Sunday, a full backup, every Sunday it will run a full backup. After 4 weeks, on the 5th, after 4 Sunday completes, on the 5th Sunday, it will mark that backup as a monthly backup. Again, after 4 week completes, it will run week 1, week 2, week 3. Every Sunday it will run a backup and mark that as a week 1 backup, week 2 backup, week 3 backup, week 4 backup. On the 5th week, it will mark that backup as a month 1 backup. That's how it works. So a customer, every 5th Sunday backup will be a monthly full backup. That's how it calculates. Okay? So you can educate the customer accordingly, how he wants to keep the data and how long you want to retain the data. If you want the encryption on, you can always set the encryption on and set the password, and you can apply the backup. So let's run the backup. And you can click on run now. It will start the backup and it will send the data to the Azure Cloud. You can see the activities, what is happening here, step-by-step process. It's calculating time left, what it's to perform the backup on the cloud. You can see the alert, and then again you can delete the backup plans. If you want to create a new backup plan, you can always add backup plan and create a new backup plan. Any questions, guys? I hope I'm audible to everyone. You can always collect the system information as well.
Yes, I can. It will help us.
It will collect the system information for troubleshooting purpose in case if the backup fails or anything XYZ issues happening. You can always collect the system information for more for your troubleshooting purpose. So as you can see, the backup has been 9% has been completed to the cloud. Let it run. I'll log out from this console again and log in as a service provider. Now, as we were discussing about how to add storage here, as we discussed in this PDF file, you need to click on storage here and you can add the storage here. You need to click on add storage. Okay. Here you can download the storage gateway guide, which is the same PDF which I had shown you, this one. And then you can download the ISO image, which will allow you to deploy the entire OS for a storage gateway. I would suggest you to go by the deployment guide because it's very simple and it has step-by-step information how to configure it, and it's pretty easy to configure. So once you configure that, you need to give the IP address of the storage gateway. So what we have done here is, let me just see if I can show you the Azure console here to you. If I have it open, let me just check if my Abdul can help you here. Can you log into the Azure console so we can show him the storage gateway?
Guys, you're cutting the cake up. It's still on?
Hi guys, Abdul here. Just give me a second. I need to pull out the credentials. ये साथ को खड़ा है तो इससे लॉग आउट हो गया
Sorry guys, sorry for the interruption. So, can you see the console? Can you please, can anyone respond and say that they can see the console?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Great, thanks. So this is sent to VM, configure as a storage gateway. This is the machine I have created as a virtual machine on the cloud. You can do the same thing because it's easy to manage on the cloud. You can just deploy the machine with each storage gateway you have and configure a virtual machine there, provide the IP address, and the same IP address you can add into the Acronis management console here as an IP address and register with the Azure Storage. You can do that. Simple configuration. The virtual machine will be up and running on the Azure Storage, so you don't have to configure a separate machine in your environment. Everything will be on the cloud, and it will directly send the data from the VM. It will pass on the data from the end customer environment to the cloud. I have added multiple. Same thing. You can add multiple accounts here. And perform the backup. You can add your local storage. You can keep a rack in your office, connect to the IP address, provide that IP address, add it here, and store the data and create your own cloud storage. But the best thing I would say is to go to the Azure Storage because it gives you a lot of faster backup and recovery because the data center is everywhere. So it gives you faster backup and recovery, which the end customer wants. If you see the data is taking a lot of time to travel from the end customer to the cloud, he will not be happy. So let's log out here and connect as an end customer again and see the backup. Has been completed here, as you can see. Here you can see, now I'll explain a couple of more things here. You can see the cloud storage. As you can see, the 0 byte has been used so far. Browse, you can add a local folder, network folder, NFS folder, you can add it here. The end customer can do that. You can always see the activities for the backup jobs, whether the backup has been completed or not. You can click on show details to get more information about the backup and job log, which is generally job log. alerts and activities, as we do not have any alerts, and setting here, it will give you the agent version. So as we already know that the agent can be updated automatically, you will keep on seeing changes here. Whenever there would be a new update on the Acronis cloud, he will deploy the agents and update the agents. So you don't need to worry about that, or nor the end customer. So this is so far for the backup. If you have any question, please let me know. In the next session, we'll show you how the recovery will work, which will give you more detailed information. And if you have more question, you can just write an email to me. Let me know if you have any question right away. I can answer those. If you talk about last session, if you guys had joined that, there were a couple of questions. I would like to answer those. First question was that if an end customer wants to move from one service provider to another service provider, and he's performing the backup locally, what will happen? So the end customer can move from one service provider to another service provider if he's performing the local backup, but he will have to inform Acronis that he's moving from one service provider to another service provider, so the Acronis can see if he has made the payment to the first service provider, and the account is fully and the Acronis will help to move his account from one service provider to another service provider. That was the question. Second question was that how the cloud storage capacity work, because somebody had heard that it takes for workstation it stores the capacity of 20 GB and for server it's 50 GB. So in Acronis Backup Cloud, you have two model. One is per device model, and second is capacity model. So when you talk about capacity model, regardless of n number of machine, you can perform the backup and with the storage. So you just need to go for the storage, maybe 10 terabyte, 15 terabyte, 5 terabyte, XYZ, and you can back up unlimited of machines. If you go by per devices, so you need to define how many devices you're going to back up. Then what Acronis does, because it's a cloud backup, the management console will decide or define 20 GB for workstation, 50 GB for storage. But that data is compressed data and with dedupe data. So there are two models, per device model and capacity based model. I would suggest you to go with the capacity because it gives you leverage of backing up unlimited machines. So guys, any question from your end which I can answer about the session today? And I would like to apologize for the interruption because we are in the JATIX right now and there are a lot of noises here in the background. So I would like to apologize for that. All right, I'll write in down my email address in the chat. You can always, if you have any question, please reply to that and get in touch with me so I can answer those questions. Once again, thanks a lot for attending this session. Have a great day.
राहुल